This is another lecture on time, but this time about AQueHora, or at what time. AQueHora. This question is used to state at what time something is. Por ejemplo, a las 8 es el examen. At 8 o'clock is the exam. Or the sentence can be rephrased another way. Just switch them around. El examen es a las 8. The exam is at 8. So what is the difference between these two ways to state time? The first question we had looked at in the first part about time was ¿Qué hora es? So ¿Qué hora es? What time is it? That's talking about the current hour and stating what that time is. ¿A qué hora es? At what time is something. So used to give event times. Por ejemplo, let's look at how both sentences would look. Son las 3, if you're saying it is 3 o'clock. A las 3 es la clase. So at 3 is the class. So looking at both time phrases, notice how one has son, the other one does not have son, it has a. So a means at. And again, this type of sentence can be switched to where you have the subject first and then the time phrase at the end. So, la clase es a las 3. So, be careful here if you're going to say the class or the exam or whatever is at 3. Be careful here because some people, they tend to touch the S part and be like, oh, well, it's more than 1 hour, so I need to say son. Son las 3, son a las 3. That is incorrect. S has nothing to do with the time phrase. S has to do with the class. The class is. So keep that in mind. So what do these two different ways of stating time, what do they have in common? Well, en punto is used the same, has the same function, although the time phrase is different, son las 2, a las 2, you can still add it on and mean the same thing. So, la clase es a las 2 en punto. Y is also used the same. Son las 3:02 a las 3:02, as in whatever event. Menos is used the same. Es la 1 menos 5. A la 1 menos 5 es la fiesta. Son las 10 de la mañana. So AM and PM are also the same. A las 10 de la mañana es... Oops. So telling time is exactly the same. It's exactly the same. The only thing that changes is the function. For instance, like we just mentioned, if you're stating what the current time is, what time is it right now, use son, and then at what time something is, include a in the phrase, put a instead of son or s. So time is told exactly the same way, so nothing changes there. Okay, how about midnight and noon? How would that change? It would be the same thing. Instead of es medianoche, just change the s to a. A medianoche. Noon, instead of es mediodía, it is noon. Say a mediodía, at noon. So with stating at what time something is, there's two types of questions that you'll see in our activities. One, ¿a qué hora es la clase? Or ¿a qué hora es el examen? That's the basic structure there. At what time is, and then an event. So to answer this, as shown in the other examples, there are two options. La clase es a las 8. 8 is just an example. So you can write it with the event first. The event is at, and then your time. Or you can write it the other way, with at what time it is, and then the event. So at 8 is the class. So those are your two options of answering. Another type of question, pretty similar. ¿A qué hora te gusta estudiar? So this is asking about study time, so it is an event, but it's a little more involved. So at what time do you like to study? So how could we answer this? One way to answer, me gusta estudiar a la 1. So I like to study at 1. And option 2, of course, put the time phrase first. A la 1 me gusta estudiar. Pues es todo. Hasta mañana.